Some mysteries are eventually solved. Others stay open forever. And the most unsettling ones are real. Not ghost stories, not legends, not campfire tales passed down and distorted. These were actual events. Real disappearances, real recordings, real discoveries, real people who never got answers. Investigators searched, scientists studied, witnesses spoke, documents were filed, and still the truth slipped away. Tonight, we count down 10 of the creepiest unsolved mysteries ever recorded. Each one is strange, each one is documented, and each one leaves behind the same cold question: what really happened? At number 10, we begin in the frozen mountains of the northern Ural region. In February of 1959, 9 experienced hikers entered the wilderness. They were skilled, they knew the terrain, they knew the weather, they knew how to survive, but they never returned. Weeks later, rescuers found their campsite. The tent had been ripped open from the inside. Not from outside pressure, from the inside. That detail changed everything. It meant panic, it meant fear, it meant something had driven them out into the dark. And they left fast, some without shoes, some without proper clothing. All of them abandoning supplies that could have kept them alive. Then came the bodies. Some appeared to have frozen to death. Others showed injuries like a violent crash. Broken ribs, crushed skulls, massive internal trauma. Yet strangely, very little external damage, as if something had struck them with invisible force. One victim was missing her tongue, others had missing eyes. Several pieces of clothing reportedly showed unusual radiation. The Soviet investigation ended with a phrase that sounds almost like a confession of ignorance, an unknown compelling force. That was the official explanation, or rather the lack of one. Avalanche, military testing, secret weapons, infrasound, Yeti, aliens, paranormal activity. People have tried everything. Nothing explains every detail. 9 people entered the mountains. Something terrified them enough to flee into sub-zero darkness. And 60 years later, we still do not know what it was. At number 9, the mystery moves from frozen Earth to deep space. In 1977, a radio telescope in Ohio detected something extraordinary. A signal, not noise, not interference, a real signal. It lasted approximately 72 seconds. Long enough to be noticed, long enough to be studied, long enough to become one of the most famous unexplained events in astronomy. The signal appeared to come from deep space. It was powerful, it was precise, and it stood apart from ordinary background activity. When astronomer Jerry Eman reviewed the data, he was stunned. He circled the printout and wrote one word beside it: "Wow!" That reaction gave the event its name, the wow signal, and then it vanished forever. Scientists have searched for it again. Decades passed. No repeat transmission, no confirmed source, no explanation that holds up completely. Some researchers think it may have been a natural astronomical event. Others still regard it as one of the strongest candidates for an artificial signal ever received from space. Think about that. For 72 seconds, humanity may have heard something from the darkness. Something distant, something deliberate, a message, maybe. Then silence. The universe spoke once and never repeated itself. At number 8, the mystery gets quieter, but no less disturbing. In Taos, New Mexico, residents began reporting a low hum. Not everyone could hear it, but those who did described it as constant, deep, persistent, hard to ignore. Some compared it to a diesel engine running far away. Others felt it as a vibration, a low droning presence that seemed to hang in the air, especially at night. The problem was simple. No one could find the source. Scientists checked industrial equipment, electrical systems, underground infrastructure, environmental factors. Nothing gave a definitive answer. The mystery became serious enough that government agencies got involved. Researchers interviewed witnesses. Experts studied acoustics. Investigations continued, and still the reports went on. Some residents said the hum caused headaches, insomnia, anxiety, trouble concentrating, Some moved away entirely. They could not live with the sound. And perhaps the strangest part is that only a small percentage of people seem able to hear it. Why them? Why not others? Nobody knows. Similar unexplained hums have been reported in other places around the world. Different countries, different environments, same unsettling uncertainty. Maybe it has a natural source. Maybe it is industrial. Maybe it reveals something about human perception itself. Whatever the answer is, the sound is very real to those who hear it. And for them, it never quite disappears. At number 7, we descend into the ocean, a place that feels almost as unknown as space. In 1997, scientists monitoring the Pacific detected one of the loudest underwater noises ever recorded. It was powerful enough to be heard by sensors more than 3,000 miles apart. They called it the bloop. At first, the sound seemed organic. That meant it resembled something produced by a living creature. And that idea terrified people almost immediately. Because if it was biological, then whatever made it would have been enormous. Larger than any known animal on Earth, much larger than a blue whale. The recording itself sounded strange and rising, as if something massive were moving through the deep. And the location made it worse. A remote area of the South Pacific. Far from civilization, far from familiarity. Deep enough to remind us how little of the ocean we actually know. For years, theories spread. A giant undiscovered sea creature. An ancient species. Something prehistoric. Something hiding below the darkness. Later, scientists suggested the sound may have come from cracking ice in Antarctica. A non-living cause. A more ordinary explanation. Maybe. But many people still remain unconvinced, because the original recording sounded eerily biological. And that is the deeper fear. Not that monsters exist, but that we might not know if they do. We know more about the surface of Mars than the deepest ocean. That fact alone should make anyone uneasy. At number 6, the mystery becomes personal. Because this time, it begins with a body and no identity. On December 1st, 1948, a man was found dead on a beach in Australia. At first, it looked ordinary. Then investigators started noticing the details. He carried no identification, no wallet, no documents, nothing that said who he was. His clothing labels had been removed. Every obvious clue had been stripped away. Police searched nationally, then internationally. Nobody recognized him. Nobody claimed him. No missing person report matched him. It was as if he had appeared out of nowhere. Then investigators found something even stranger. A hidden pocket. Inside it, a tiny piece of paper. On it were the words, "Tamam shud." The phrase means roughly, "It is finished." It had been torn from a rare Persian poetry book. Police eventually located that book. Inside were strange coded writings, sequences of letters, possible encrypted messages. A phone number linked to a woman who denied knowing the man. And the mystery only grew. Who was he? A spy? A criminal? An intelligence agent? A victim? Even modern DNA efforts have not answered everything. The Somerton Man remains one of history's most famous unsolved cases. A man with no identity, no clear past, no clear cause, just a message saying it was already finished. At number 5, the sky becomes crowded. And then it becomes impossible to explain. On March 13, 1997, thousands of people across Arizona saw something extraordinary. Not dozens, thousands. Witnesses described a massive formation of lights moving silently overhead. Some said it was larger than multiple football fields. Others believed it blocked out parts of the night sky. Families saw it, pilots saw it, police officers saw it, military personnel saw it. No engine noise, no sonic boom, no simple answer. Videos were recorded, photographs appeared. News stations covered the event. And the strange formation became known as the Phoenix Lights. Officials later suggested some of the lights may have been military flares. But many witnesses rejected that immediately. They insisted they saw something much larger. something structured, something moving intelligently. Years later, even Governor Fife Symington admitted publicly that he had seen something unusual that night. That matters, because when thousands of people independently describe the same silent event, the mystery becomes harder to dismiss. If it was not something beyond us, then what was it? And why did so many people see it the same way? At number 4, we go back in time. Far from cities, far from crowds, far from help. In December of 1900, a supply ship approached a remote lighthouse on the Flannan Isles off the coast of Scotland. 3 lighthouse keepers were stationed there. Their job was simple: keep the light burning, wait for the next supply ship, stay alive. But when the ship arrived, no one answered. No signal, no response. The lighthouse looked abandoned. The crew climbed inside and found signs that something had gone wrong. Meals appeared unfinished. A chair reportedly stood overturned. One clock had stopped, and the 3 men were gone. Completely gone. No bodies, no trace, no explanation. The official investigation suggested a storm had swept them away. A powerful wave, a tragic accident. But that answer never sat easily. Some reports said conditions had been calm at parts of the time. Then there were the log entries, violent storms, uneasy notes. One keeper reportedly crying, another claiming all 3 men were praying. And then the final entry: the storm is over, sea calm, God is over all. After that, nothing. 3 experienced lighthouse keepers, a remote station, a final line in a logbook. And no one has ever fully explained what happened next. At number 3, the mystery leaves the physical world behind and enters language itself. Imagine finding a book that no one on Earth can read. Not because it is damaged, not because pages are missing, but because the writing seems to belong to no known language. That is the Voynich manuscript. Wilfrid Voynich acquired it in 1912. Since then, it has resisted every attempt at decoding. It contains hundreds of pages, strange illustrations, unknown symbols, bizarre plants, astronomical diagrams, human figures, and thousands of words written in a script nobody has successfully understood. Not amateur cryptographers, not professional linguists, not intelligence agencies, not artificial intelligence. For more than a century, brilliant minds have tried to break it. They have failed. The text behaves like a real language. It has patterns, structure, rules, but no known language matches it. Some think it may be an elaborate hoax. Others argue the complexity would have been almost impossible to fake. And the statistical patterns only make things worse because they suggest actual communication. Communication about what? Who wrote it? Why? What does it say? Nobody knows. It is called history's most mysterious book for a reason. Maybe it contains knowledge, maybe it contains nonsense, maybe it contains something we were never meant to read. At number 2, the mystery becomes terrifyingly modern. On March 8, 2014, a commercial airliner departed Kuala Lumpur carrying 239 people. Its destination was Beijing. Everything seemed normal. Then the aircraft vanished. Modern airliners are among the most tracked machines ever built. Radar, satellite communication, flight monitoring, navigation systems. Yet somehow this plane disappeared. Investigators later determined that it changed course unexpectedly. Instead of continuing to Beijing, it turned away. Then it kept flying for hours, across vast stretches of ocean, before disappearing completely. An enormous international search followed, one of the largest in human history. Ships searched, aircraft scanned the ocean. Satellites analyzed data, countries worked together. Years passed, only fragments of debris were recovered. The main wreckage remains largely undiscovered. And the central question still hangs there. What happened on board? Mechanical failure, pilot involvement, hijacking, unknown circumstances. No one can say for certain. That is what makes MH370 so haunting. It happened in the modern age. In a world of satellites and digital tracking, and still a passenger jet carrying 239 people vanished. Not in the distant past, right now, in our time. And at number 1, the mystery grows wider than any single event. It becomes a place, a legend built from real disappearances. The Bermuda Triangle. Stretching roughly between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, this part of the Atlantic has become famous for vanishings. Ships that disappear, aircraft that vanish, crews that are never seen again. One of the most famous cases happened in 1945. 5 U.S. Navy bombers, known as Flight 19, left on a routine training mission. The weather was acceptable. The pilots were experienced. Everything seemed normal. Then the radio calls changed. The pilots reported compass failures. They could not determine their position. They believed they were lost. Communication worsened. Then contact ended. The aircraft vanished. A rescue plane was sent. That plane disappeared too. 6 aircraft, 27 men, gone. No confirmed explanation, no definitive answer. Skeptics point to the facts. The region is heavily traveled. Weather can be severe, human error happens, equipment fails, ocean currents are unforgiving. All true, and yet the legend remains. Because some stories in the triangle are still too strange to settle comfortably. Because unexplained loss has a way of haunting the human mind. The Bermuda Triangle is powerful not only because things vanish there. It is powerful because it represents the fear that some places on Earth can still humble certainty. That some questions refuse to die, that mystery still survives. And maybe that is the real lesson here. The world is not becoming less mysterious. We are becoming more aware of how much we do not know. Modern technology has mapped the globe, connected continents, sent probes into deep space, decoded the human genome. And still, people disappear without explanation. Signals arrive from the darkness. Ancient texts resist translation. Aircraft vanish. Strange phenomena continue. For every answer, another question appears. For every discovery, another blank space opens. That is what makes these cases endure. Not just the fear, not just the strangeness, but the realization that uncertainty is built into the world itself. Somewhere, clues may still be waiting in old archives. Somewhere, signals may still be moving through space. Somewhere, the truth may already exist, hidden, ignored, unrecognized. Until then, these mysteries remain what they have always been. Unsolved, unexplained, and deeply unsettling. Tell me which mystery unsettled you most, because some secrets feel closer than we think.